All right, for our next panel, it's panel number 3, and this panel will gather existing solutions worldwide dealing with social technology entrepreneurship, addressing humanitarian-related challenges as to provide and to empower people with access to education and healthcare. Plus, it will address ways to make Lesvos a best practices global tech hub as an example of success for Europe. We aim to raise awareness and to advocate for impactful technology that can positively contribute to society, ideally with reference to health and health education tech solutions. So for this next panel, I would like to welcome Dimitrios Spiliopoulos. Then we will also, welcome Dimitrios. We will also welcome Nena Dokuzov. Welcome, Nena. We will also welcome Kilian Kleinschmidt. Welcome, Kilian, and Saverio Romeo. So welcome to the 4th of you, and thank you for joining us for this Changemakers Summit 2020. I will briefly introduce our speakers. So I'm gonna start with Dimitrios. Dimitrios Spiliopoulos is a passionate IoT business strategist. He's an adjunct professor in the top tier MBA of IE Business School, where he offers his business-focused Internet of Things course. He's a frequent speaker in IoT conferences and a writer for IoT publishers. So once again, welcome, Dimitrios.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Yes, thank you. Then we have Nena Dokuzov, who is an expert in management of EU, European Union funds, including financial instruments and other repayable forms of funds. She is currently the head of group for new economy and blockchain technology at the Ministry of Economic Development and Technology, Slovenia. She coordinates the preparation and implementation of the Government Action Plan for Blockchain Technology, which was adopted by the Government of the Republic of Slovenia in May 2018. It foresees the identification of relevant areas, preparation for the implementation of the regulatory framework for blockchain technologies in Slovenia and Europe. She's a member of the EU Blockchain Partnership, which is organized under the European Commission. So welcome, Nena, once again.
Hello. Hello.
Hi. Then we have our third speaker, Kilian Kleinschmidt, who is an international networker, humanitarian and refugee expert with over 25 years of experience in a wide range of countries, emergencies, and refugee camps as United Nations official, aid worker, and diplomat. He has founded and is currently the CEO of the Startup Innovation and Planning Agency, IPA, which aims to connect marginalized parts of the globe with the technological resources and know-how needed to catalyze change. So once again, welcome, Kilian.
Hello, hi to everybody.
Hi. And then we have Saverio Romeo, who is an emerging digital technology university lecturer, who is an emerging digital technology management university lecturer and independent analyst and advisor. So welcome to Saverio once again.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for joining us once again.
So thank you very much for joining. And as we've said, well, the long-term vision is the Global Humanitarian Tech Hub. We had very robust discussions yesterday as an initial kickstarter off and with some solutions to go forward. If I can ask perhaps Killian to start off the first introduction and yeah, share your thoughts.
Okay, let me switch off on the camera. Well, greetings to everyone. I'm sitting with a view on the Mediterranean. Beautiful weather in Tunis, where I'm based, North Africa. Let me first give you some general thoughts about the themes, and I was also following with attention at least parts of the previous panel on what this is all about. First of all, I think there's high time to change the narrative about the whole theme of refugees. Refugees is has become almost like a tribe, or has become such as a new species we seem to have invented. I mean, this is about human beings, it's about people, and people actually, yes, moving for a number of reasons. Yes, there is what we usually consider as the one of the main reasons is war and persecution, discrimination, sort of fear of persecution as per the UNHCR definition. However, I mean, we're also seeing increasingly, obviously, the outfall of people on the move because they are in a way not always in a desperation with an immediate threat to their life, but they cannot realize, in fact, what makes what I would call beyond survival. A lot of people living in conditions which are unacceptable, difficult, they don't access the fundamentals of life, difficulties to secure water, health, and so on and so forth. And particularly, of course, the climate change, natural disasters, but simply also extreme poverty are pushing people to make the decision to move. So the real number of people on the move because of these reasons is not 25 million, that's about 1 billion people globally who are in such a situation. It depends really on the definition. And so we need to be conscious that this is far beyond that dimension we see currently happening in Lesvos. It's an expression, it's the sort of the tip of the iceberg of what we're seeing. Now, a lot of this is also linked to in fact, the desire of human beings to be part of an interconnected world, to be part of a world which has plentiful of resources, which has invented, actually, if you would take it that way, already everything. The only problem is it doesn't really travel. I mean, it's not only about the money. I mean, we're blaming the extreme super rich to own 10%, not even 10%, 2% own more than so and so many percent of the world population and so on. That's not the issue. It's also about knowledge. It's about technologies. It's about solutions which insufficiently actually traveling and made available. So what since I decided to quit the United Nations in 2014, when I was managing the refugee camp in Zaatari in Jordan with 100,000 Syrian refugees, what I'm really obsessed with is, on one hand, well, there's 7.5 billion people on Earth, and on the other hand, there's, I mean, many of them, most of them, do not have really the availability of accessing what we actually have already basically succeeded in inventing and doing and experiencing. And so most of these communities, most of these people, most of the locations where this is not really there, they're invisible to us. And on the other hand, many of the others, the inventors, the startups, the technology inventors, the innovators, and so on, they're sitting on brilliant, fantastic ideas, and they do not have themselves a way of bringing that together with those who would actually benefit. So what we're trying to do, and this is through our project Switchboard, is actually to connect the demand and the supply. or let's call it, because that has, the demand has a sort of a negative connotation, let's call it as well the opportunities and the supply. And for this to happen, I mean, the reaction of the techies, of the nerds would be to say, well, let's set up a platform, let's set up a marketplace. But I mean, we still very much quite often are in analog worlds as well. So there needs to be a connection which is beyond that sort of digital connectivity as we are now, let's say, a switched on community talking on Zoom. I mean, who on earth knows what Zoom is? It's more people now, but there's still not 7.5 billion people who access this. So how can we have that exchange taking place? So I'm now again also from a, let's say, North African perspective, and we are here in Tunis very much working on that space too, is to create the meeting places, to create the facilities which actually enable that exchange to take place, and actually to broaden it, to, I mean, let me use the word, to democratize it, to socialize it, to have that accessible beyond the switched on people, who are obviously a number, but not really on the. So that means the concepts we're seeing increasingly happening in a number of places, obviously, as impact hubs, startup hubs, labs, this type of things, which bring people together. So for me, there is the sort of the combination of different tools and instruments is necessary to be set up to connect, bring people together, to co-create, and so on, and get out as well from that sort of arrogant, quite often the global north, if I can call it like this, or the more switched on nations and so on, to say we have a solution for you, and our solution, my solution, is the best. It's about really co-creation. It's really bringing that sort of, well, here's the situation, here's the opportunity, here's the challenge, and how can we best solve this? So there may be a technology which may be a good fit in one country, in one situation, which may not be the best fit in another one. The most advanced, let's say, waste management plans and technologies where we move in a direction of really bringing in a concept of circular economy and so on, and etc. They may not fit into a place in southern Tunisia. So how do we create those solutions best? Is, well, zero in, zoom in, and then bring in that debate, that discussion, and that joint work. Make that happen. A lot of this, again, I'm saying, can't be digital. Some of this is still analog. So that means people travel and will travel, hopefully, at some point again. And then on the other, I mean, it is obviously co-creation through better connectivity, creating tools. And so I see Corona as a super opportunity to create more tools, to work on meeting spaces which are beyond the capacities of Zoom, that we really create that sort of direct interaction. I mean, there's some organizations such as Shared Studios, for instance, which create, more very interactive, multi-dimensional spaces where you can meet, discuss, work together, jam together, make music together, make all sorts of things happen. Now, coming to Lesvos and how to look at that, I mean, Lesvos would have had a big problem even without any additional newcomers. Let's call them newcomers. Let's not call them refugees. And it has been pointed out rightly in the previous panel, the newcomers, and that is felt as being a challenge and as a threat by many. Some have seized the opportunity and they have built up new businesses and so on. But Lesvos would have had tremendous problems because of the situation in Greece, because it's an emigration producing location. There are challenges of reviewing and renewing, in fact, the way of how to look at agriculture, at tourism, at other solutions which would make it, not forcibly, also for young people, more easy to stay on. And so in that direction, and I will soon conclude, no worries. And in that direction, we must look, and there will be also discussion, I think, later on in the afternoon, we must look into how can we actually create the space for people from who are now on the island, and that's the local population. Let's not, please not call them community, because I have my doubts on that whole sort of community. These are people who live there, they have their challenges, and before they talk about community, they will talk about themselves. So how can we make that difference for everyone? How can we look into the challenges Lesvos has? So now the concrete proposal, which we will be hopefully exploring more in detail in the future, in the afternoon and in the weeks and months to come, is to really create that space where that is happening. I mean, you obviously, Vasily, and others have created some of this, but it's pretty much limited, or has been limited to a, let's say, in a more exclusive sort of group of people coming together. Let's open it up and build bridges for people to come together. So how does this happen? So a physical location, that is what we would like to propose as one of the steps where that co-creation can take place, where technology comes in, where that urge of everyone, of people in Lesvos, of people in Ghana, in Congo, in Pakistan, and wherever, is actually met of bringing in technologies, ideas, concepts, visions together and create that space. And that needs to have the facilities to do so. So we need a space, a hub, let's call it a hub, which has accommodation, which has spaces where you can create, which has the tools, the instruments, the labs, the facilities, which has all the communication tools, so which becomes a pumping heart for the island of Lesvos. That's where the things will be happening. That's where people, young people and also older people like me, can actually feel well, where there's fun, where there's entertainment, where there is, in fact, that community, a real community which builds up of co-creation. So building up a hub which brings that together in Lesvos, I think that would be one of the first steps in that direction. And I believe, I mean, it's a fantastic location. It's a tourism location. It's a place where people really would like to go to and have been going to historically. So why not building that into something more future looking, more trying to tell a story of the future of Lesvos rather than looking into crisis and from a doom and gloom perspective. So that's my concrete proposal. We have, and we will be sharing this at a later stage. We have developed the first concept. It's also something, by the way, we're doing here in Tunisia, where we have the same issues. People dreaming of a more connected world, dreaming of interacting with other people. Why do they want to get out? Because not of maybe only because of jobs and things, also because it's about lifestyle. And maybe in a very last remark here, I mean, I still believe very much, despite its misbehavior, I still believe very much into Europe as a project. And coming from, and I was made the year the wall came up, and that was a dramatic year, I think, for 1961 for Europe and for Germany, obviously particularly, but for Europe, for the world, in dividing and building up walls. Once it came down, I mean, there was a tremendous effort to bring young people increasingly together all over Europe. The European Union has done enormous work on through associations, through civil society, but also quite often through state. I'm finishing. Through state connections, state support, bringing young people together in all sorts of forms, and that's what we need to create in Lesbos. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Killian, and laying the foundation and a broad overview on how we can change how we address the challenges on Lesbos into opportunities. Can I ask Saverio from Emerging Technologies, some of the challenges on Lesbos, for example, for the last 5 years, asylum seekers and refugees go to the hospital, and then you have this situation where locals come and they're waiting in queues and get frustrated, and the doctors don't necessarily understand, don't have records of when the full record of the refugees. They're not sure when they come back before. They don't speak the language. There's all these type of frustrations from a health perspective, and also from an educational perspective. Whilst educational technologies and so forth that are out there, it's not been adopted. So if you can share with us your thoughts on what type of emerging technologies you could think that could be implemented, that, for example, could be implemented within the camps to make life easier and more effective solutions, more efficient solutions, where technology is also actually reducing costs because of simplifying processes. So if you can just...
Okay. I mean, thank you for inviting me to this. It's really one of my first call on this topic. I'm coming from a strongly technological background. I've done European policy on tech, so I'll try to bring a bit of my experience also on, let's say, smart cities, smart communities development, which maybe some ideas can be used. And I want to connect immediately to a concept Killian said. We should be carried away by the beauty of technology. If blockchain is cool, it's not necessarily needed. Sometimes it's needed, sometimes it's not. The Internet of Things is cool, sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. What it dictates the use of certain technology is the context. So we need to understand the context, and technology needs to adapt to the context in order to provide tools and services. That means, for example, in the concept, in the idea of smart city, which are not like, well, let's call smart communities, that you need to design a strategy on how and which type of technologies you need to implement. Because there are plenty of technologies that, in theory, someone coming from outside like me on Lesvos will say, why don't you use this? Why don't you use that? And yeah, you tell me, yeah, you are cool. You come in here and tell this stuff. You don't know what's going on. And the context and the people are going to use the tech is the fundamental point of view. Tech is almost secondary. Yeah. Then I can tell you, Vasilis, there is a lot. You talk about use of doctors in a remote way. Okay, we can do remote diagnostic. We can do telemedicine. Yes, cool. You can do it. There is the tech there to do it. Now, is the context prepared to adopt that? Is the doctors community in Lesvos able to adopt that? There is the digital culture to adopt that. This is not just a problem of Lesvos. It's a problem everywhere. We talk about tech, a lot of fascination of tech without being culturally prepared to use it. Yeah. So definitely, I also believe if I draw from the smart city story in which I've been involved for almost 5-6 years now, you have two types of development of smart cities. The one in which you take technologies into an existing cities, yeah, and you use tech to enhance the services of the cities. And then you have smart cities basically starting from scratch. And that requires an integration with the architectural side of it, with the sociological side of it. So now I believe in a camp, which I personally believe should have been there, we should find different solutions to the problem, but we should think about really a collaborative approach to the development, let's call it, of a smart camp. Yeah, and the technology they're out there. I mean, Dimitrios can I'm sure we'll add on it, but there are plenty of tech. On the educational side, plenty of tech could be from connectivity. You don't really need maybe super broadband for certain things. If you want to monitor the quality of the water into the camp, you can do it without having broadband, but with employing certain other type of technologies in association to sensors. And that can go on. But I think in order to answer properly your question, we need to understand the context. We need to design a strategy for that, to understand the outputs you are going to use, and we need to educate, because the educated part is probably in tech all over the planet is the most important part. You know, Rudy is teaching Scratch, which is fantastic. Yeah, I would suggest to him, oh, come on, Rudy, jump up on Python, which Python is slightly a bit more powerful than Scratch if you want to prepare people for the workplace. And again, if someone comes from external world, being the professor of the situation, yeah, I don't want to be like that. But the context is really what we need. In terms of educational tools, I'm teaching Birkbeck, University of London. I'm teaching for undergraduate and postgraduate, but we have moved completely to online teaching. And I have discovered a planet, really, a galaxy of tools. Yeah, a galaxy of tools. If you are curious how to improve your online teaching, doing assessment online, real-time streaming, there are plenty. And a lot of them are also open source, which is good, because you can use it freely. You don't need to pay any sort of fee, and you can build on it. And when Kilian was talking about the hub, yeah, in a hub, which has as, I believe, one of the first objectives is the tech education of the hub before and then you have all the other stuff that go around to develop the ideas. This set of open source tools are there for you. In the hub, you need broadband connectivity. I do not know the level of broadband connectivity in Lesvos. I imagine that is pretty good. But there are also solutions that you can empower the existing broadband connectivity on a specific area without going into technicality. So I think there are tools, there are a lot of technology to be used. My final message really is to understand the context on one side and to apply the tech that is necessary to that context, to understand the people who are going to use it and educate that. And then I want to give another message, which in Europe we fail generally. Yeah, we are focused on a lot of smart cities, and the narrative behind smart cities, the narrative of a rich Western society. Big cities, strong economies, people will come to the city, rural areas will disappear. This is the destiny of the narrative of smart city. And should be like that. Should not be like that, because in the local Europe, in rural Europe, there is a lot of innovation going on, but we are unable to celebrate it. Yeah, I think Rudy, a person like Rudy, in the context of Lesvos, in the definition of these newcomers with the Greeks, is one of these digital champions that needs to be celebrated. We need to celebrate digital champions in local Europe. There are indigenous, between brackets, there are newcomers. And celebrating not just to clap them, but to actually put the money there in order to promote the ideas they can bring on. Because these are people clearly with ideas. These are people who wants to do it, wants to develop. And we want that. And I think Europe needs to really take a strong turnaround on that. Because we are stuck with the celebration of the Elon Musk and the blah, blah, blah. I know they are greatest people, but I do not mind, because they have the financial support also for doing what they are doing. So to wrap up, you have the tech, but I need to understand, where the tech goes in the context. We have the people to use it. You need to educate the people to use it. And the digital champions needs to be part of this story, independently if they are Greeks, locals, or newcomers.
Thank you very much, Saverio. So I think with Killian laying the foundation, you providing the importance of context, and the point that we want to say about the smart city component for impact, because someone, I think it was Killian as well, who said we look at problems as opportunities. And I think there's, given that there's a massive need, there's, as you may know, an international volunteer community coming from around the world to Lesvos. And if there was a place with the right context that we can look to build the right solutions that address some of the social challenges, and this is part of the ideal vision that we would like to go towards, is to create a living lab, to give context, a living lab within the structure of Killian that looks to produce relevant tech solutions that make life better for society, and some things that we can celebrate that whole piece together. And I think this panel we follow Dimitri and Nina. I think it comes together in a fantastic way already yesterday with the conversation. So really excited to continue the discussions here, and really hope that in closing,
We lost you, Vasily.
very much for, oh, okay.
For 20 seconds, not more.
Anyway, I would like, at the end, I'm saying it would be great to see how we can bring all these together, because there's strong links with Killian, Saverio, and yourself, Nina. So yeah, over to you, Dimitrios. And thank you very much, Saverio, for those insights. And it's all about the context, definitely. And this, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I really agree with what Saverio already mentioned, and myself also I'm coming more from a technology, but with a business background. I'm not a techie, let's say, but more from a business and how we can use technology to solve problems. I agree at the context, and for sure there are all the technical or technology solutions that we need. There are many tools for almost all the problems. I mean, we could name here many solutions, like when you speak about healthcare, also the hygiene is involved, the water management, the waste management is something relevant, right, for the communities. But all of these tools exist. I don't think it's a purpose to speak about IoT and sensors today. But I want to say that, let's say for Lesvos, I see there are the locals in the cities, but also there are the newcomers, or let's say the refugee camp, but also there are the rural areas that Saverio mentioned, like the villages, and they have also many needs, and for sure technology like with IoT can help with no need to send people there, but you can manage the infrastructure or healthcare remotely. But also there are the NGOs, which are like the people who work there for some period, and then they're leaving the island, like maybe for 6 years or 2 years, for 6 months or 2 years, hopefully not 6 years. And also there are the tourists, right? So there are so many different groups of people who need to live together. And when we speak about, I think to educate them about what is possible or about digital skills, we should consider also the rural areas, the newcomers, the locals, but also find solutions for all of these different groups. Not only, we shouldn't look only the locals or only the refugee camps, but how to integrate all of the different needs and find something smooth to serve all the needs. And just some points to add on the previous speakers, because they mentioned many things I would like to cover, but I think one idea which is related to education and creating the living lab that you said, I like the idea of what also UK is doing. Of course, here there is, I'm based in London, by the way, there is lots of funding, so we cannot compare things, but here also there is a concept of digital catapult or innovation hubs. And this is, they try to create collaboration and awareness about what technologies can do. So I'm thinking like something similar in Lesvos, which means we can have like their education for locals and whoever wants to join, for refugees, locals, tourists. Everyone wants to learn about digital skills, about the to understand the potential of these technologies, and then having the bringing similar startups maybe, or companies that they have existing solutions, but bring them in the island, trying to understand the context that Saverio mentioned and adjust what they have already, but adjust it to Lesvos. And if we manage to adjust to Lesvos, this means we address local island community, island population, which is different than being in Athens or Istanbul or London, right? Addressing also the tourism, addressing also the newcomers or refugees who have different needs, and also the rural areas. So everyone can learn from this community and from these living labs that you said. And it's also the technology vendors can learn, the local municipalities can learn, the government how to do it, and then they can replicate this for other islands in Greece, other islands in Italy, and like this could be a good test bed or living lab, as you said. But adding on Saverio's point about that he discovered how much is online by teaching me, I had also to upskill myself and do online teaching. I think that no need to bring everyone in the island, because this would be super difficult. But now with Zoom and all these digital tools, we can even use expertise which is in other countries or other islands, to bring them, to create the discussion and share an expertise, let's say, or have online training. No need to be everyone in the same room, to do this. Just, I think connectivity is really important, as Saverio said. I mean, if we speak about all this, everyone needs to have good connectivity. No need to be 5G. It can be, Wi-Fi and 4G, but we need to have the network infrastructure. Yeah, and educating also, I think the local, the public sector is something key about how they can use technology to solve the problems they have with healthcare, with infrastructure, with security, with waste management. All of these are relevant. And yeah, let's continue the discussion.
Thank you very much, Dimitri. The one thing is, if you could give one or two examples that you have off the top of your head, given COVID, just for the audience that are not familiar of how technology can be used. So if you've got something off the top of head. And the other part is, in terms of the suggestion of bringing startups to Lesvos from a context perspective, to adapt their solution to the local context. So something we would love to work as a team or to implement on Lesvos is, and in context of the right smart city, Saverio, is to make a impact tech accelerator program. So a program that will be physical for 2 weeks and the rest of it virtual, formed by locals, asylum newcomers, and the international volunteer community, of trying to pilot those. So, as a base, I mean, Killian spoke about the environment that you've got, but as one of the programs within that environment, doing a leading accelerator program, which I would actually like to call a summer school, because it's educational even for students to and learn from it and intern from it. The value you're going to learn from these incredible startups that are now becoming multinational companies is, we're going to solve real problems and help bring the best of the best solutions to a beautiful island. So I really like that suggestion that you said. Why not bring solutions from around the world? South Africa's got amazing technology, and bring it, test, pilot, implement Lesvos for Europe. And with that, so if you can tell me one example, and then I want to go and give the floor to Nina. So if you've got one or two.
Vasily, to what you said about the summer school and these concepts, I think if we have at these programs, let's say, if we bring everyone together, like newcomers, locals, tourists, or visitors, to work together, like to collaborate, to learn themselves, have some free time, social time. This is how we can bridge the gap and solve all the misunderstanding that the previous speakers mentioned. I think is by doing something together, you understand that you have, say, emotions, similar problems, and then you can go back to your country and share what you experienced, right? As you do it very well, Vasily, with all of us. So about COVID-19, I can mention one solution I like, and Saverio or someone else can mention another one. I like something simple that maybe 2-3 years ago we would say that this is useless. I like the idea of a smart thermometer which I think if I had heard this 3 years ago, I would say this is useless. But we saw, like in the US, there is a IoT thermometer that it's a normal thermometer, but it can send the data of your temperature automatically, not only for you to keep the history, but send it to the hospital at your local community, but also maybe send it to the island central authority, I don't know, and then maybe to the local healthcare government, you know. So, and this you can have data from every village and from every hospital, and hopefully from many people at the camps. So you can understand the history and find patterns and understand where the NGOs, the doctors, where they should put more effort, where they should send more resources, where they should give more masks, and how to allocate the very limited resources. And this is good for forecasting also, where the pandemic will be increased. And we see that in US, they use it a lot. And this could be something could be funded somehow from European funding, or I don't know. Saverio, I'm sure he wants to mention maybe one more solution.
I'd love to continue the conversation on this one, by the way, that we can actually look to implement, you know, so we should talk about implementing it because of the massive need and fear across all camps. But anyway, so thank you for that. Saverio.
If you want Nena to talk, I don't want to dominate. I mean, one suggestion on the incubator could be a thematic incubator. So, yeah. For example, for Lesvos, or the 2 weeks, you mentioned the 2 week summer school, for Lesvos, which is a critical issue. For example, I'm doing some work on how tourism can restart out of COVID-19 for an Italian organizations. Now, tourism is a very, is a social moment. If you have social distancing, there is not much you can really do, but there are a lot of ideas coming into it. Some, for example, there is a virtual reality, as there is a renaissance of virtual reality on smart tourism. There is a how to measure social distances on the beaches. You need the drone, so you can do it a different way, sensor based on this new structure. So you can think about it. Okay, let's do a smart tourism session, 2 weeks. We invite external entrepreneurs to work together with people living in Lesvos and coming out with ideas. This could be a way. The other way these apps works, you need to give something to work on. So usually what you work on an entrepreneur, they work on the data. Yeah, so they develop application on the data. If we are talking about software-based living lab. Now, the example Dimitris was saying is very interesting because you get the data out of the smart thermometers. What can you do with this data? Now, there is all a privacy security things to put into this, but that could be another topic. So I see that the thematic things where the themes are relevant for Lesvos, rather than do an agnostic one, which you can use yourself, could be a good way through.
Awesome, fantastic. Thank you very much for that. Nina, are you with us?
I'm here, yes, but please unblock my video so that you can see me.
Yes, Henri, while we're waiting for Henri, yeah, Henri?
I'm going to call Henri very quickly.
Thank you, Arthur. So the accelerator program that we're calling about bringing all that together. So our goal is to create cultural infusion.
No, but the debate, you have it now. I like it very much because we had the same questions some time ago, and we were trying to find the solution for all of this. And maybe what I'm going to explain now, it would be, okay. So they let me in. Hello, everybody. Yeah.
Hello.
This is a photo from Geneva behind, because I cannot move the photo from my back side of my appearance. But in any case, I'm very glad to be with you today, because it is obvious that we all have questions or very similar, and we are all thinking about very similar solutions, but maybe everybody is covering a part of that solutions. And then now how to connect all these solutions into one homogeneous solution that could be integrated and that could cover maybe more segments and more communities, if you like. But if I start from the concept, technology, we will not talk about specific technology. We will not talk about IoT, blockchain separately. But what I think is maybe it is reasonable to, to talk about technology as itself, because within blockchain, what we need here is to know that this is a technology with very high social value proposition. And this was also my drive to start to develop this concept here in Slovenia and on the European level, because it's very close to all that we learned from social economy, from cooperatives, from the kind of cooperation between people, between different communities, and kind of transfer of information, of knowledge, and so on. And this is why I'm connecting very much the blockchain and its principles, and also principles of social economy. We have to know that a human has to be in the core of the technology. This is first. The second thing is that if we go through all the elements of blockchain technology, this is, for example, self-sovereign identity. This is traceability. This is trust. This is many things that can be very strongly connected with certain communities, and also with the engagement of these communities here. I have to say that we built a project, and maybe it can be very useful to implement it here. I agree with living labs. I agree with smart city concept. I agree with all the concepts that we are facing in Lesvos or other communities that are facing the same problems. But thinking about how to use the technology here, we built a community around technology. It was a kind of distributed autonomous organization. This is a kind of governance type for organizing the different communities that can transfer knowledge, that can make markets for themselves, that can be visible to each other. So first we were thinking about distributed autonomous organization that can be baked or based on blockchain technology. Then we upgraded this into distributed collaborative organization. And what I think, and having in mind so many different communities, okay, refugees on one side, the citizens and the inhabitants of Lesvos in the other side, externals are the volunteers or the people that are coming to Lesvos as tourists or medical staff or something. This can be third or fourth population that is could be relevant. But how to connect all these populations? Okay, within interoperability and within infrastructure, I agree, but they need to know what will be the benefit of this solution? What can they have as a community? What benefits that can be realized, and how they can engage? Because if we talk about blockchain, this is also the technology that enables equal participation, that enables engagement of different groups of people, that enables visibility of different groups of people, and also that enables transfer of knowledge, either peer-to-peer or between different types of communities. It is also a technology that enables, for example, artists or creative people to start to create teams on blockchain. So if we have a platform that is multifunctional platform, maybe this can be also used as a tool for engaging the community and subtracting that knowledge that is available in different types of stakeholders, if you want, and to enable them to participate in the process in everyday life, and to co-create that community in which they live. So we created that platform. This is multifunctional. I will send it to you, the whole project, because it's very interesting. And it has a function of governance. This is inside of that distributed collective organization. It has a function of knowledge sharing. We also have in Slovenia one project that was developed in cooperation with our institute, scientific institute, Jožef Stefan is called, and let me see, this is called some education exchange repository that enables online access to education to whichever group, and it is tailor-made for different types of I don't know, groups that are seeking a knowledge. And then that platform was also used as incubation or acceleration for innovative ideas. It means that it enables to create, for example, if you have 3 or 4 people from different groups, it enables to combine the knowledge, to combine the skills, and to create a team that could offer a kind of a service or a kind of a product to a known or unknown procurer or buyer or purchaser. So this is also one functionality of this platform. And the last one, also the platform can be used as fundraising platform. We know that we have a lot of money laying in different programs through Europe, in different projects, but if we have an exchange platform, this is not crypto, okay? This is something like solidarity platform that enables the exchange of assets on blockchain based on trust, based on security, based on safety, as technology offers this safety and security by itself. I think that we can share this concept of project, and it could be the first step in shaping that living lab, or what you want to shape it in Lesvos, because you have the issue of COVID-19, okay? You have the issue of social distancing. So if we use the technology to support certain functions of living lab that could be established later on when the conditions will be normalized, then I think that we can make a great community cooperating based on equal participation and also incentivizing. We were talking about smart cities, smart communities. Here on blockchain platform, you can make an incentivizing principles or concepts where people that are engaging in certain activities can be incentivized either by local authorities or by some public service providers or by different providers that have access to their money on time and their participation also in co-creation of services. Maybe this for now, and I can explain a little bit later if you want.
Thank you very much, Nina. Can I ask you just a quick question? You mentioned about the financial services aspect. I mean, is this operational? For example, could your platform provide access to finance to refugees? So would that a community of newcomers that would be able to get access, and is it operational? Could someone donate
for financing? Not yet, because we don't have such a problem with the refugees. You know, we were only facing the big issue in 2015 when more than 500,000 people passed through Slovenia. After that, we started to think about how to make or add the functionalities to this platform. But in any case, it can be developed. There is a base for development of that kind of functionality. And also we will have, now there is on the European level, a regulation on crowdfunding that will enable to apply directly to the Commission to create crowdfunding platform, and then to fill it with alternative investment sources. So I'm hardly waiting for this because it is directly applicable to EU, not necessarily on the local level. And there is one more thing I wanted to share with you. I'm a member of European Blockchain Partnership, okay? And we started to develop 4 use cases or 4 services 1 year ago. And one of these services is European Blockchain Services Infrastructure. And Greece is also member of this European Blockchain Partnership. I will try to find the Greek colleague, then I will talk to him, because maybe Lesvos can be a very good test point for It came to my mind when Dimitris mentioned the infrastructure and connectivity and this. And there is one more thing. If I mention just the other 3, one is digital identity on blockchain, the other is diploma on blockchain, which is also very useful. The third thing is EU funding on blockchain. Maybe this is also very useful for you. And for this was for version 1. And version 2, we selected one of the projects selected for version 2 development of that services on blockchain is German Asylum project. So if we manage to connect this German Asylum project to Lesvos refugee issues and challenges, then maybe we can create something very good.
Well, that sounds amazing, Nina. And for the project, just to let you know, the project that you said about for the EU with governments that want to embrace the social economy across Europe, the project that's available for the 9th of June. We've got some social impactful partners in Berlin that are doing amazing work. So, and I think in the 5th panel, we can unlock that a bit more.
Okay.
But they would be the ideal people because they are involved with refugees as well in Berlin, and very good relationships with governments there. So it's, yeah, like I think this brainstorming and exchanging ideas will be pretty amazing. So can I ask, I think, unless someone's got specific questions, please let us know. Otherwise, I think a quick wrap, how could we, could be the next steps, or just some thoughts around that, so we can go into the next panel. And for those who can stay on, you know, the next panel is leading from this one. So you're more than welcome to stay on board and share some thoughts on that panel as well, if you have the time available. But if I can ask you guys to each just give some closing remarks for this session, and ideally if there's some thoughts on next steps to Lesvos. And I think, Nina, you pretty much already said that, but I would really like this to be the beginning of a relationship that we work together, not we came, hi guys, nice, and gone, that we actually work towards implementing these things, or at least exploring the implementation of those. That would be great in one way or the other. So any questions? Otherwise,
my question is mainly for Rudy, or I don't know if Israel are here. From what they heard, my question is if they think this makes sense, is something that Rudy, you think it will help you and the local community, the locals and the refugees? You know, is it something you see the value? Just because we discuss here, I think all these are good ideas, but what do you think?
Yes, it is something value between refugees and local people. So for my project, I already see the result is very good. It's very also helpful, because the Greek people, they start to be fun and good also with refugees, and the connect is 100% between all these good people. Because for the first time when I started, they said, oh, what are you doing? Who are these people? And they didn't understand the context and about what I was thinking to do. So then they start to come and to understand better, and I explain them slow. They say, oh, it is very good idea. We need to support, we need to work together. So it is very, very helpful. That's why I'm trying to continue to work like this. And also now, after the last concert I did here, I received a lot of friends. They came to visit me and to talk. They said, yeah, this we can be together to make something bigger between you and us. And also some musicians from Lesvos, they came to visit me and say, how did you think to manage these kind of things, like to make a team? I say, yeah, because music is a very good way, and it is not only for me to raise some money, no, because of these people, they need our support. And they propose me also in the next to do something together, like to do some concert, and also people can come to support. It will be helpful for the refugees living in the camp, and also because I have the professional musician. They already play in the country. They already play music and with other artists, other actors. So they are living in Moria, just boring, without nothing. Yeah, so I want to connect them. I want to also more connect with you guys, to connect me and also with my people to other people, like Greek people, because we cannot do nothing without have connect with the Greek or local people in Lesvos, because they know the way, they know where we can find, where we can, because so music, it's something, it help like healthcare, and this is my support. Now I'm trying to think to do something inside the Moria, because people, they are boring, they do nothing, to help them to have like a concept of hope, concept of the concept of hope, to tell them they are not alone, we are with them. So we will raise our voice to explain this kind of people inside the camp. Don't worry, guys. Other people, even they are not coming to visit you inside the camp, but they know, they care about you by music way. Yeah, it's very, very helpful. I will need your support to build this team to grow up. Yeah. I don't know if I'm
Thank you,
right to
Rudy. Yeah, I think it makes sense, and I from what you said in the beginning, I think is related to bring the collaboration and communication, not only to speak about, let's say, technology, but the people in the refugee camp to start to collaborate with locals, with people from other countries to build solutions, let's say, or to build and also from what you said, we could have also the cultural events in the evenings with the music and concerts
That's
from
what,
different countries,
yeah,
so
that's
everyone
what
can learn.
I forget it also because I have done, I think, 5 or 6 different concerts. So we understand each other, like African culture. It was very difficult for us to understand, and Arabic culture and Greek. So we are making and in different like healthcare culture. We understand each other, the different cultures. African culture, we are very different. But by music, traditional music, and so when we start to understand and the meaning of by music, the meaning culture. So it is very, very good. And one time I did it also here to bring African culture by cooking African food. So it was really helpful. I make concert and also I said, okay, let's cook African food. And the Greek people also, they say, oh, this is very, very good things where we need to continue to have this kind of different culture. And also we did it. We have some Greek people, they cook Greek food. So it was very good. So if we have this entire culture, it will be very good. And I think other fascist people, they are not fascist, they are nice, but some because they are very tired about refugees. Maybe for culture, they can change also their mind. Yeah.
Yeah, good points. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm so very happy. Thank you.
Dmitry, I just want to say and add to this, our speaker in the panel 1, we did an incubation program in partnership with the university. We had 25 students and 5 newcomers that worked together for almost 2 months. And the impact that was created, leave the business solutions, which the one team went to CERN to present, but the interaction that happened and those relationships that were built were invaluable. So there's multiple areas. He'll lead the technology, but at this point, it's more important about building the different regions. Nina, your mic is. We can ask you to please mute.
Sorry.
Your mic.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Thank you. So yeah. So Dmitry, we still saying something? Did I interrupt? Were you saying something?
No, I was not saying. I mean, as a conclusion, just summarize that I think also what Saverio said, that it's not to look for a technology, but first to understand what are the needs, what are the problems in the different communities in the island, like the rural and the villages, in the camps, in the cities, tourists, NGO, all of these, they have different needs, I guess, but trying to adjust and get the technologies that are, or solutions that are available in other countries, maybe, and adjust them to the context of Lesvos. And yeah, education, not only of people in the comers, newcomers, but also for the locals, for the public sector, because if only Rudy is expert in all of these and the others cannot understand, still there is a gap. So it's how to bridge this gap. And yeah, if we focus, like, we cannot do everything, right? But if we start be more specific, like the first goal of 2020 or next year is I don't know, it's like infrastructure or healthcare, for example. Maybe to focus this next year or next 6 months, maybe education or something else, you know, just to focus on specific things so it can be more effective, all this initiative or the effort. Yeah, that's it from my side. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
I want to add also something about the technology. You know, when I'm going inside the camp, I meet a lot of people. Like there is one school, Afghan school inside the camp. They're trying to teach people to get all the children. They start to teach the children from 9 until 10 p.m., 9 a.m. until 10 p.m. So they are doing amazing job, very, very good. I was there. So now they're trying to make also some African school for the children from Africa. So it is very good things. So we can support them. I don't know, maybe to try also to put another like computer school there, and the people the good networking like internet, they can be there to understand how the things going, to teach them about the technology, or not only to for the language, but we can do something like not
for coding or big data.
Yeah, coding. Yeah, something like something specific, because not everybody there's a smart, like example by mathematics. No, we are really different. Other people can be very, very smart with another knowledge, like by coding, like by language, learning language, like by mathematics. So I would propose, if we can see them and also propose them another knowledge people can learn, if they will believe that. So try to fix like to think about the security, because it's not a good place. We can try to talk with the director of the camp, also police, and try how we can staff inside the camp and bring it, and try to find also maybe 2 times or 3 times a week. It will be helpful. Even they will not come to the town, but they are everything inside the camp. Also Greek language, also English language. It will be helpful. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, and even there is so much content online which is free, like free courses for big data, for example, or coding. And if somehow there is the connectivity, like the internet and a laptop, very simple laptop, you don't need you know, you can do the most of the work as a group there, and have sometimes the professor. I mean, if you have the tools, it's easy to do it, and even for free. But I know it's not easy to have always good connectivity, or everyone to have you know, the computer is.
Yeah,
I think we can find solutions for this.
Yeah, I did it before on section B with the minor, and also in the olive grove with some with movement on the ground. We did it in internet, so we need to have good internet, and someone also to show them the link how it's working, because many people they don't know. There's a lot of free course online, so we need someone to teach them, someone
guide
to
them,
show them, to bring them the tools, and after maybe 1 hour finish, another people can come by session, can be very well.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Killian?
Yeah.
Moving to the session, but please go ahead.
Well, thank you. I think this has been very relevant. I think I like to nail things down to concrete steps, because blah blah we have had enough, and so I think the points Nena made on the different, let's say, groupings and people who need to meet are very, very relevant. How do we go in stages is, I think, here the point. We do things which can be done this summer, which can be done immediately, basically. That's building platforms where different parts can meet, the local people, let's say, the newcomers, the tech community, and so on can meet and work on specific issues together and find solutions. The next step certainly still remains, I think, to create that meeting point which builds bridges, which brings people together, and not only with always the sort of severeness of the situation in mind, but in a positive, fun, forward-looking way. And I think, I mean, from my personal experience, I was a newcomer myself 40 years ago in an abandoned region of southern France, very backwards, reminds me very much, without obviously, of Lesvos. It took 25 years to actually create an environment where everybody feels well, where the region repopulated, where now there's opportunities for everyone. Lots of quote unquote local people, young people also decided to come back actually, because there was suddenly an environment which was more interesting. There was things happening, fun happening, and so on. Technology is certainly the backbone for a lot of this today. The way of how we are working and communicating today allows a lot of this. So I think that stage of creating that environment in Lesvos for everyone is certainly necessary. So I'm looking very much forward to work with the team on that sort of physical location as well as a next stage that needs investment, and needs whatever, hotel management, and needs hospitality and as a whole and so on. But it could be also a fascinating project around the Mediterranean, and I'm looking at the Mediterranean community very much, which needs to be brought together. The issues are the same all over the place, on the move, outward, inward, whatnot. So I think there's plenty full of opportunity in one of the most stunning environments of Europe. So I look through it, and I'm looking forward to working with you.
Thank you very much for that, Kilian. That's fantastic. And putting the next steps forward. So, Nina,
Yeah.
your mic is on.
Uh-huh.
You can,
Okay. I'm sorry. I was disconnected in the meantime. And yeah, I will.
So if you want to share thoughts, we're going to wrap up this session and go into the next one. So, yeah.
Yeah, okay. What I said before, it is very welcome that you will start to build the community principle on using the technology, if possible. I already asked European Commission to connect me with your Greek with my Greek colleague at European Blockchain Partnership, so that we can start to talk something concretely. And I think, yes, I agree with Dimitris that we have to define the needs of different communities, that we need to think how to connect these different communities, maybe also.
Nina, you've gotten on mute. Nina, you're on mute.
But I don't know how, because, okay, what did you hear?
Well, no, we just missed one sentence. You said about, we heard most of it, and you're saying about the importance of connecting different communities.
Yeah, okay. And it is important to identify the needs of those communities, and then to start to build that connecting distributed organization where then they can play their own roles, they can participate, and they can also access to market if you want, because it's very important that they lower their costs when they access to market through the usage of that type of technology. What I think is that you have very big potential in Lesvos, and the people with different skills that have to be connected, and also the knowledge and the skills from the refugees, what we saw the case before. It is very precious, and it has to be integrated into different communities, even in Lesbos, or even wider through Europe. So I think that you have a chance to become really a lab, a generator for solutions for different communities, also for the refugees, but for remote people from I don't know, farms and agriculture parts of the state. So we can also use that smart villages concept. It will be 2.8 billion euro for smart villages concept for new programming period. And please think about how to integrate into European network of smart villages. We can develop this, okay, you for Greece and we for Slovenia, but we can connect them into that network so that we can collaborate on smart villages as well. So all the communities have to be capacitated and their skills should be upgraded also with the usage of these modern types of technology. This is it from me for now.
Nina, absolutely amazing. And I have to say to you, one of the most beautiful villages is on Lesvos is called Plomari. It's got, I felt like popping champagne, so it made me think of it as well, because the best ouzo in the world is from Plomari. So I hope that we can all go together into a smart village of Plomari. There's also Molivos, Kaloni. There's beautiful villages that perhaps all of them could use this. But anyway, so focusing on Plomari, but that'll be amazing. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
And I look forward to you guys coming there. So Dimitri, anyone else something to say before we go into the next panel? And please do stay on board because it's going to be as a follow-on to the discussions we're having now.
No, we covered everything, I think.
Yeah.
Nina, you leaving?
Yeah, for a while, but I will join you in half an hour, okay?
Awesome. Thanks, Nina. Thank you very much. Right. Arthur?
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for our panelists to discuss on panel 3 about concrete way to apply technology and all of what you spoken about. So thank you guys for your contribution in this summit. I really appreciate them. We really appreciate them.